Judge Joseph Dredd is easily the most recognizable and successful character to come out of the British science fiction anthology comic series known as 2000 AD. Dredd is a law enforcement officer in the dystopian futuristic city of Mega City 1, covering what is now the eastern United States and a portion of Ontario, Canada. His title as Street Judge means that he acts as not only a form of police officer, but also a judge, jury, and executioner, all rolled into one. He's been adapted into film twice at this point, once in the 1990s, played by Sylvester Stallone, in what was a visually interesting, yet heavily flawed and forgettable film, and the second time, more recently in 2012's Dredd, where he was played by Karl Urban. If you haven't seen this movie before, I would check it out now. It's one of the most underrated comic book films ever made. Dare I say, one of the best. Today, I wanted to look at Judge Dredd villains though, and choose, in my opinion, his 10 best. Now I am not that familiar with the character, in terms of comics at least, so keep that in mind. These choices were made solely from my research and my research alone. If I miss any characters you feel should have been included, be sure to leave them in the comments section down below. Also, I'm not going to analyze each one in precise detail. That kind of thing can always be saved for a future supervillain breakdown. Alright, let's begin. Starting off the list at number 10 is Call-Me-Kenneth, one of the very first villains Judge Dredd ever faced. He was an aspiring revolutionary leader known as the King of the Robots. At first, he just wanted robots to have the same rights as all other beings, fighting against their oppression, but eventually, Call-Me-Kenneth declared war on the fleshy ones of Mega City 1, instigating a robot uprising from within. He only appeared in a few stories, but I think it's an interesting look at dictatorships, genocide, and fascism in general. Call-Me-Kenneth also has an old-school science fiction vibe, warning us about the dangers of technology. Next up at number 9 is War Marshal Kazan, also known as Mad Dog Kazan. He was the primary antagonist of the Apocalypse War storyline, serving as the War Marshal for East Meg 1, Mega City 1's rival city. Thankfully, his reign of terror would end when Judge Dredd sentenced him to death. Moving on to the former head of genetics for Mega City 1, named Morton Judd, who was responsible for creating the clone brothers, Joseph and Rico Dredd. Judd was a madman and believed himself to be the chosen one, destined to overthrow Mega City 1. He would form a cult consisting of clones, modeled after Joseph and Rico Dredd, called the Judda. They wore similar body armor to that of street judges, and wielded weaponized staffs. Next up, number 7, is Orlok the Assassin, a soldier and assassin born in East Meg 1, a mega city just like Mega City 1, but located in Soviet Russia. Orlok instigated a war between East Meg 1 and Mega City 1 by poisoning Mega City 1's water supply. In retaliation, Judge Dredd and his forces would nuke East Meg 1 and destroy it, essentially killing its entire population, nearly 500 million. At number 6 we have Philip Janet Maybe, also known as PJ Maybe. PJ was a child genius and hid his intelligence as best he could growing up. He was also a psychopath, with no sense of right and wrong. At age 12, he committed his first 2 murders, choosing his victims at random out of a phone book as an experiment. He took a liking to it and would become a serial killer, facing off with Judge Dredd numerous times. PJ's kills usually involve hypnotic drugs or face-altering robots in some way, kinda like facehuggers, which are always nightmare fuel material, aren't they? For number 5, I have chosen Judge Dredd's older brother, Rico Dredd. Both Joseph and Rico were clones of Chief Judge Fargo, the founder of the Judge system, and created in a laboratory, grown in tanks full of bubbling liquid. Rico's outlook of the justice system would turn cynical and sour compared to his younger brother, and Rico would turn corrupt and violent as a result. The more good Judge Dredd became, the eviler Rico seemed to. After being caught for extortion and murder, Judge Dredd would arrest Rico, and he would be sentenced to 20 years on Titan, where Mega City 1 imprisoned its corrupt judges. On Titan, Rico was experimented on, with his mouth stitched shut, and a special cybernetic air filter attached to him so he could survive the harsh vacuum of space. As he rotted in prison, all he could think about was revenge against his younger brother. Sadly, Judge Dredd would be forced to kill him. Next up, at number 4, we have Mean Angel, also known as Mean Machine Angel. He is a member of the Angel family and gang, a group of feared criminals from Texas City who work out of the cursed Earth, the radiation-blasted wasteland surrounding Mega City 1, housing monsters, mutants. It's virtually lawless, anything goes. Mean Angel is a large muscular man with cybernetic implants. He has a clawed right arm, a red optic as a right eye, and a dial on his head that has 4 settings, each controlling his brain. On the lowest level, he is just unpleasant, but on the highest, he goes completely berserk, headbutting anything and everything in his path essentially. Mean Machine Angel is a fairly ridiculous character, all things considered, but then again, the cursed Earth is a crazy place. Who knows what psychos are out there? Moving on to number 3. Obsessed with the dead, Soppy Walters became Sabbat the Necromagus, Lord of the Undead, Destroyer of Worlds. He would use his black magic to wipe out the population of the planet Bethsheba, resurrect an army of zombies, and attempt to destroy the Earth during the Judgment Day epic. But of course, like the badass he is, Judge Dredd is having none of it. At number 2, we have Mama, the main antagonist of the 2012 Dredd film. I don't usually include made-for-film villains on these lists. I try to stick with the comics primarily, but in this case, I had to make an exception. Mama is the drug kingpin housed on the top floor of the Peachtree's block of Mega City 1, who and her gang manufacture the drug known as slow-mo, which slows down its users' perception of time to 1% the normal rate. It leads to some pretty impressive shots and action sequences. And at number 1 is Judge Death, the greatest Judge Dredd villain in my opinion. Hailing from a parallel Earth known as Deadworld, he is an undead, dark judge whose sole motivation is to eradicate all life. He believes life itself is a crime because only the living are the ones committing it, which is sound logic, I guess, at least from his point of view. Judge Death is the leader of the Dark Judges, a group of 4 undead, incorporeal spirits, zombie-like beings that aid him in his life-ending quest. The members include Judge Fear, whose hidden face is believed to be the manifestation of his victims' fears, Judge Fire, covered head to toe in flames and wields a flaming trident, and Judge Mortis, whose touch has the ability to cause his victims to rapidly decay. I could have listed each of the Dark Judges as a separate villain on this list, but I wanted to group them in with Judge Death. I felt that would be more appropriate, and would allow me to discuss a few more characters. Can't be lazy now. And that does it for my list of top 10 Judge Dredd villains. I want you to realize these choices were based solely on my own personal opinions, and with a character I'm not really all that familiar with, so I'm bound to have missed some villains you would have chosen. There are over 2,000 issues of 2000 AD at this point, not to mention the countless other Judge Dredd comic series that have come out over the years. There have been so many stories, so many villains, so many varieties and unique ideas with them, it'd be impossible for me to narrow them all down. My research for this video was quite extensive, but there are gaps in it, and there's nothing I can really do about that. If you're a die-hard Judge Dredd fan, if I missed any villains you believe should have been included, just leave them in the comment section down below. Hopefully, that's enough. This has been NerdGasm. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and bell icon to be notified of all future content I release. You can become a patron over on patreon.com/channelNerdGasm as well, and take part in monthly polls that determine the next comic and game reviews I do on the channel. Your contributions also go into making videos like the one you just watched possible. Any bit helps in keeping this kind of stuff alive. Thank you.